Hello, before this video starts, I would like to post a little bit of disclaimer. This is no hate rant towards Stylosa. I just found his Tierlist to be very contradicting and his video overall being very contradicting with his meta picks and also his characters that he placed in the meta being very badly placed in some scenarios. And that's why I would like to make a video about it. So no hate. You know, I looked through the comments after watching his video and I agreed with most of them, and I found it very funny how the comments reflected very much how much confusion this video sparks. So first off, we have comments saying that this is just a how every hero works against ball tier list. And although I must agree that, it is very important to have characters that counter ball right now, it is not the only reason you would play a hero, and it kind of felt like that was the only thing he was going off of. Then we have Stylosa contradicting himself multiple times throughout the videos. Stylosa, for example, says that Roadhog is playable anywhere, everywhere you wanted him to be played at, but then he puts him below the playable rank, which contradicts his action, just contradicts whatever he's doing or saying. And we have people saying, Stylosa is not a GM player, he's more like the plat, and he doesn't actually know how the game is played. But that would mean that the tier list doesn't apply for high players, but rather low players. Well, people then say, it doesn't apply to the low ranks, because this tier list goes out of the window for low ranks. It doesn't apply whatsoever. And then we have this. People agreeing with Stylosa's opinions. So I was kind of confused. People on low ranks are agreeing with Stylosa's picks, but then people say it doesn't apply for lower ranks. But then they say Stylosa doesn't know about the high meta, so he belongs in the low meta. And he's just overall very contradicting and stuff. So next up, I'm going to show you Stylosa's wonderful tier list that he made. This is it, by the way. So I marked every hero in this tier list, which he put. And, I marked them with green if I wanted to put them higher in the tier list. I marked them with yellow if you could talk about them being either a specialist pick or higher / lower on the tier list. And I marked red characters, which I would put lower. I was very confused in the beginning because he said very meta heroes. By the way, the meta means most effective tactics available, which means this doesn't really make sense, because what is then the strongest, most effective, the even stronger one than the most effective tactics? Doesn't really make sense. Also, he completely forgot Symmetra, which was mentioned like hundreds of times in the comments down below. I don't particularly would shit talk him for missing out on Symmetra, but there was some Symmetra lovers and fans who noticed quickly. So then I took it upon myself and I rearranged every single character and renamed some of the tiers to make it a bit more special and a bit more accurate. So this is what I did. I changed and improved it. Smiley face. So in Stylosa's video, he puts everything or makes every reason for his character placement regarded to ball. And it is because ball is a must pick, but he didn't really say it that way. He said ball is a strong character, but he never really addressed why. If you just wanted to see the tier list and my improvement on the tier list / my criticism on Stylosa, you can end the video now. If you would like me to explain it, however, you can stick around. So, we have Ball in S tier because the character's just busted. He has high mobility, one of the best mobility in the game, being in grappling hook and pile driver, and just his ball form to begin with. He has super high burst damage potential in his pile driver, doing 100 damage with damage orb even more. And we have him just completely obliterating everything. He's also quite unkillable. He is the only tank in the game right now that needs multiple stuns to even have a chance to be killed. Then we have Sigma. Although Sigma got his shield nerfed, which made the character less fluid, he's still quite strong in his damage output and overall flexibility when it comes to his abilities. His Kinetic Grasp and Rock are still some of the best and flexible abilities in the game, and his support ult being so versatile, being able to be used as a support ult as well as a damage ult, is quite nice. Next up we have Echo, also one of the more broken characters in the game. Echo Sticky Bombs still very oppressive. Same goes for the Damaging Beam, which in combination just leads to Reinhardt being kind of very low on the tier list and main tanks being held back. Furthermore, the character is quite unkillable due to her triple lives she gets when she ults. She also gets many ultimates of other characters during her ult, and can play quite unsafely and in unfavorable positions and is never punished because of her not dying when she dies in her ultimate. Next up there's Tracer. Very high burst damage potential and the best mobility in the game, allows for her to be very meta, as she also counters Zen, a very unmovable character with no mobility. The character sees much play. Next up there is Zenyatta. Zenyatta is just on the tier list in S because his damage orb enables everything. His damage orb makes it so that everything that ball dies instantly. If a damage orb is applied to any 200 HP target, the ball will dive with a swing and slam, and it will usually one-shot kill. If not, the Tracer and Echo have high mobility to follow up. Then Stylosa put the Hog quite low on the tier list. I put him quite high. Reason being is that the Hog oftentimes is used as a replacement for the Sigma, in that he has the same amount of sustainability than Ball has, but also has high big pick and damage potential that Sigma has. Next up there's Orisa. Orisa can work if played properly and worked around. If you're playing a Sigma and you do not want to have a Ball, you're going to play Orisa because this is the other option. Next up there is Ashe. Ashe kind of got down ranked from S to A simply because of her non-existent one-shot capability anymore that she had with Mercy previously. Other than that, the character is still nice in having one of the best abilities in the game, being Coach Gun, also having Dynamite, which does tons and tons of damage, and Bob just being a very strong ultimate. Then there's McCree. McCree, of course, suffers in the A tier because he's just outperformed by the characters he's supposed to be countering. Also, McCree is only this high in the tier list because Flashbang kind of counters the Ball and kind of counters the Tracer as well. So he's sometimes played as a replacement for CC in your comps. Next up there's Hanzo. Hanzo is oftentimes picked if the enemy wants to run a double shield, which sometimes happens. So he's in the strong tier because he got buffed when he didn't need it, which made him even stronger than he was before. Stormer is doing much more fast burst damage, burning down shields. His Primary Fire and Sonic Arrow are still nice abilities, and his Dragons are great for zoning and to be comboed with, for example, a Riddick Flux or even a Graph if there is one. Next up there's Torb. Torb, of course, is very good at zoning out a Tracer, also kind of decent at pressuring the Echo. The Echo has to play more defensively when encountering a Torb. Torb is also picked for his high damage potential when overloading against Hog and Ball. Also, he's quite killable with his extra armor when dived. Next up there is the counterparts or replacements for Zenyatta. That would be Brig, Baptiste, and Mercy. So Brig's job is just to counter the Ball with her stun and flail, also countering the Tracer a bit, with her ultimate being very strong in making the ball not kill anything since his guns do reduce damage. Same goes for Tracer's guns. Just making everybody more survivable against these high burst characters. Furthermore, not only is the character quite unkillable and makes others unkillable, her range repair packs are quite nice, and her flail, of course, is nice CC. Also, her shield is very good. Next up, if you don't want to run the CC, that would be Baptiste. And Baptiste is only so far up in the meta picks or near the meta category in the strong tier because of his lamp. His lamp is one of the most broken abilities in the game and should be an ultimate. Many people point out that it should be an ultimate, but it never was going to be made an ultimate. So of course he's going to be a strong pick, not a meta pick, because you only pick him because of lamp. Also, Baptiste has high burst healing damage potential, which furthermore advances his tier. Then we have Mercy being in the A tier strong as well, because if she is played, she's mostly played to pocket the Ashe or the Echo, which make the already strong characters even stronger. There's also Res, which is still like one of the most broken abilities next to Lamp, but that aside, the character is not that strong individually, if not played with an Echo or Ashe, or any target you can pocket. Next up, there would be the specialist picks. So the specialist picks is in the middle of the meta chart because these characters can be anywhere on the scale from SS to F, depending on what is played. For example, if the enemy team runs a Sigma type comp, you could run a Winston Zarya to counteract the Sigma, forcing the enemy off Sigma and onto a different pick such as Hawk. Furthermore, the specialist picks, or B tier, is there for certain maps. For example, you would play a Junkrat on Anubis or on tight corridor maps. You would play a Widow on Anubis because of the long sidelines, for example, and you would pick a Sombra if you wanted to hard counter the ball, having very much issues with the ball. There's also characters like Pharah or Genji, which when played correctively in combination with a Nano, for Genji with Nano Blade, or a Mercy, can be quite powerful and can work sometimes. Next up, there's the playable category. So in the playable category, we have the heroes which are not that strong, but you can still play if enabled properly. These are characters such as Reinhardt, if the comp allows for a Rein, if you're playing a very brawly comp, and the enemy is not running a very pokey comp or high damage burst potential comp, or is not running the Echo, you can always opt for a Rein. This is why, for example, we see Rein players still in high elo, is because sometimes the comps or the players just allow for it. Next up, there's Doomfist. Doomfist is right now quite outplayed by every hit scan in the game. He cannot really get to his target, and there's so many CCs in the game that if he gets to his target, he's going to get stunned out, pressured out, and die. That's why he is only in the playable category, is that he cannot really do much if he doesn't get hard enabled by a bubble, a brick pack, and even more stuff. Then there's Reaper Mei. Reaper Mei are in the playable category because they can work when used correctly. We saw, for example, a Mei rush type comp be played in some Masters lobbies in combination with Reinhardt Sigma, where you would roll off a singular target, being, for example, the enemy Sig, and you would just charge him and kill him instantly. There's also an argument for Reaper to be playable, because, he enables these brawly type comps even further, although Reaper does not do that much against characters like Ball or Sigma, since they have a lot more survivability and need to be stunned, and Reaper just doesn't have one. There's also Moira, which enables brawl comps with her massive group heal, but she doesn't really bring much to the table otherwise than her damage and healing, so she's quite low on the list. Then there is D.Va, which is in D tier, which is the weak tier. D.Va is so far down the tier list, not because she is that weak on her own, but because every other character is kind of countering her right now, and she's playing into a lot of counters. If you were, for example, to run a D.Va, you were going to get hooked and booped and stunned quite often. And there's a lot of abilities right now that D.Va cannot eat, for example, Echo Beam or Brick Flail or like a lot of things like Sigma Ult that she cannot eat. Diva was good because she can eat stuff like grabs, fight-winning ultimates, and abilities, but also being survivable and very movable, which she can't right now because there's so many stuff which prevents her from moving or positioning at all. Then there is the trash tier, which is F, where I put Bastion, which is just unplayable. It is not fun to play against one. It's not fun to play with one. Even in higher tiers, for example, if you were have to have Bastion main on your team, the game would not be fun for you, and it would not be fun for the enemy. Simply because you have to play around the Bastion, and they have to play counter Bastion, which is not fun. However, the counter Bastion is usually going to win. Last but not least, we have the Lucio. The Lucio is that far down because every other support does his job better right now. He gets his ultimate too slow for enemy ultimates, so when the enemy ultimates come online, he doesn't have his beat to respond, which is not the case with characters like Zenyatta or Brig, who get their ultimates fast enough, and Baptiste already has his lamp to save somebody, so Lucio doesn't see any usage in his ultimate, except for aggressive after the fight is already lost. Then Lucio doesn't do as much healing as other characters, and the speed boost is not really needed that much anymore since people are not grouping up anyways. Brig is only more viable in that department because she can throw repair packs over a long distance, while Lucio has to stay near his teammates and be grouped, which doesn't really happen right now. So yeah, this has been my take on Stylosa's very, very nice tier list, which was this one. And I hope that my tier list is a bit more accurate in being more towards flexibility and specialists, and also predicting the meta a bit better than Stylosa is doing, since the meta didn't really change since the last patch. And I'll see you on the next one. Smile.